this way. Well, you remember a few episodes ago we talked about Treat, right?
Yeah, that's true. And you
I
weren't.
was
I liked it a lot more than you did.
right, and with Treat, I love Treat. Um, and I felt like there were many good songs on that CD, but I also felt like there were some that were too safe, too, I don't know, just fixated on a given formula that it really didn't have too much creativity. And I kind of feel the same way here with Hardline. I feel like it's what is great, and what is very mediocre is very mediocre. Do you think I'm too far off base with this, Jason?
A little bit. First of all, let me give you my thoughts. The Goddard reference, or having that sound, you couldn't be more right. I mean, I was hearing the Lip Service album from Goddard pretty much almost the entire time I listened to this album. And that's a good thing because and especially while Johnny has his own sound, a ton of, speaking of Goddard, unfortunately, rest in peace, Steve Lee and his vocals on how he sings and how he just brought it. And that band's never been the same since without him.
No, and it never will be.
It won't be, which really, really sucks. But what's funny about this album is, to me, when you I don't want to go track by track here, but one thing that kind of stuck out to me when I was listening to it is, where would you go from here? First of all, sounds like it may as well be a Crush 40 song. In fact, I almost think it is like an outtake from. I almost envision Sonic the Hedgehog running across the screen when you hear the song. I mean, it sounds like a Crush 40 track. Nobody's Fool's good. Human Nature's okay. But what's funny about it is the first three songs of the album to me are, okay. Nothing great, nothing bad, but maybe to your point, just kind of safe. Where things get interesting for me is starting with Trapped in Muddy Waters, which is the fourth track, which is a very bluesy, I almost kind of think like this is a track Last in Line would do. You know what I mean? Like it has...
Or Cinderella.
Yeah, maybe, yeah, like later era Cinderella. Yeah, like very blues-oriented rock song. But then right after that, Running on Empty and The World Was Falling Down, two really killer tracks. And I got to tell you, Biv, you know me and ballads. I'm not a fan. I don't like them 99.9% of the time. But Take You Home is nothing more than Johnny Gioeli and a piano. And for me, Home Frickin' Run. That is a great, great song. And Johnny just kills it, but that shouldn't surprise you. And then Where the North Wind Blows, which we played a little bit ago, and In the Dead of the Night. Again, we're talking like 5 tracks in the middle of the album, between tracks, 4 through 9 there maybe, that are all really, really solid, and I think are a definite step up above the first 3 tracks that lead off the album. And then to me, United We Stand is okay. It kind of sounds like the stuff earlier in the album, which is just, it's decent. And then Fighting the Battle ends the album off on a strong note. But when you compare this to Danger Zone, when you compare this to the last album, this is definitely heavier. Not that Danger Zone was, a bunch of soft rock, ballads or anything. But this is definitely a heavier album of the two. Really some really top-notch work, and Johnny's just terrific. Maybe it doesn't help that I'm a fanboy. We reviewed Seventh Wonder's most recent live EP with a couple new tracks, and Tommy Karavik can fart in a microphone, and I'd say it's an 8 out of 10. And Johnny's not much different from me. And by the way, Johnny is of course in the process of getting a his Pledge music has pretty much been filled to the point where he's starting and already recording some of his solo stuff that he's going to do on his own, which is going to be very acoustic and very just, and again, if it's anything like Take You Home, where there's nothing to it but a piano and Johnny's just killing it, fine by me. I cannot wait to listen to it. But I'll tell you what, Alexander Del Vecchio, of course, is now part of the band. He's been involved in a lot of different projects, and Seventh Hour was, of course, one of the bands we reviewed, in which he's the guitarist for them as well. And, brings his own sound to it. Just a really solid band. And, Johnny just kills it. And I will tell you that if you are a melodic hard rock fan, especially if you're a Goddard fan, you cannot go wrong with anything that Hardline's ever done. And Human Nature, again, I think is definitely a step up over Danger Zone. So I'm giving this album an 8 out of 10.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Now, let me ask you this, Jason.
Yeah.
Now, you had talked about their previous album, Danger Zone.
Mm-hmm.
And you had talked about how the fact that this one was heavier than, the Human Nature was heavier than Danger Zone, which I agree with. That being said, can you be heavier and be safer at the same time?
Oh, sure.
And do you feel like, based on that, do you feel like that was the case here?
I don't know. The thing is, you're looking at 11 tracks, of which 7 of them I would say are top notch. 4 of which are, they're okay. There's not one song where I go, next. So I don't know if it's necessarily safe as much as, I don't know. I don't necessarily see it that way. I don't consider this a safe album. I don't know if it's mind blowing, but I don't know if it's safe. I think it's pretty damn well done.
No, and for what it is, and for being what's trying to be a radio friendly, catchy, type of CD, I think what they've done well. I just don't think. I guess often, and again, we go back to that conversation of, are they pushing the envelope? Well, we're going to spit at them if they don't push the envelope. But then if they do and they go outside of their zone, then we get mad at them for that too.
Yeah.
And, I guess I just maybe was expecting, Johnny's developed his sound a little bit more. I thought the band had been around a little bit more. I guess I just expected another layer of depth that wasn't quite there. I still gave it a 7.5 out of 10, so I guess we're talking about semantics, in terms of ratings. But I guess I just was expecting that. That being said, I will tell you this will be one I end up buying and will be into my collection.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's some really, really good tracks on this album that are definite songs that I will be listening to on a continuous basis. And Take You Home's one of them, which, again, it's a ballad. Are you kidding me? That's just how it is. But, do what you do, Hardline. Do what you do, Johnny. It's good stuff. That was Human Nature. Check it out.
Fairy tale for the ones we know. Human weakness gets explored, and the end is a triumph of the poor. Hey, it's a fairy tale for the ones we know. Turn the page with fingers so long and beautiful. The moon is rising down.
That was Fairy Tale, off of the 9th Hour, the most recent album from Sonata Arctica, a band we've never done a review of, and a band that, well, you know what? I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna talk about my thoughts on this band and my opinions on this album, and just all types of thoughts overall in regards to these guys. But first, I'll kick it over to Biv, because I think I got lots to say. So, Biv, what did you think of the 9th Hour?
Well, I need to preface that by saying that I first heard Sonata Arctica about 10 years ago. And when I did, it wasn't what I expected to hear. Yes, they were in the progressive metal label, or, that whole category. But they didn't sound like anything else I'd heard. And then I did a little bit more research on them, and, being from, I guess some of the members are from the upper areas of like the Arctic part of the Scandinavian countries. And they, have a whole different mindset and a lifestyle and a way of thinking and a sound than anyone else. And so it was eerie and chilling and kind of different, but yet it wasn't something I got into. And over the years, I've kind of listened, to a couple tracks here and there, but I never found anything that grabbed me. And so when I saw this one was coming out, I was like, you know what? I really haven't given these guys a chance in a few years now, and it's time for me to put my ears back into it and kind of see what the Ninth Hour has to offer. And while there were, a couple of tracks for me that stood out, Life, The Fairy Tale, Fly, Navigate, Communicate, this still is an acquired taste, an obscure sound. Even though it's not anything unusual, it's not like it's not instruments being played in a weird, different way. It's you definitely get the sense of a very northernist climate, I don't want to call it Viking metal because that's not what it is, but it definitely is more of a northern culture.
Yeah, it has some folk
sound.
metal influence, definitely.
Right, exactly. So I guess for that reason, while I did listen to it and I can appreciate it musically, it's not my bag. It's just not my thing. It's not something I'll throw away. It's not something that if somebody has on, I'll be like, dude, change that shit. It's horrible. I won't be like that. But it's not going to be something I go out and buy either. So I listened to it, I track by track, I could go through it track by track if you really want to, but I don't think it's necessary. What is necessary for me is I found that most tracks didn't vary enough. I found the sound to be in a tight envelope, a tight box, if you will, and enough to where it didn't leave enough intrigue for me to want to explore it more. So, for me, it's just not my taste, and that's fine. I gave it a 6.5 out of 10.
Okay. Well, let me give you my thoughts. It's funny because when you do reviews like we've done, and we've done shows before, there are certain albums you'll listen to when your thoughts and opinions on the album sound like reviews you've done in the past or somebody else has said. So let me borrow something Biv said before. When we did Haken's most recent album, Infinity, in which Biv is kind of like, I've never gotten into these guys, and then I listened to them and I realized why I didn't get into them. I don't know if you remember saying that, Biv, but it's a good point. It's because the vocals to you just were very off-putting and you didn't like it.
Right.
I cannot stress that point enough when it comes to the lead singer Tony Kakko from Sonata Arctica. He nails down a chalkboard, dude. I can't stand his vocals. It sounds like he's singing with a plugged nose. Dude, it was bad. Really, really bad. On top of that, I'm not a person who's a snob who... I shouldn't say snob. I'm not the kind of person who's a huge audiophile who can listen to an album and go, well, clearly the guitars are, pushed to the background here, and you could see that there's definitely more emphasis. I mean, I don't listen to music that in depth to where I can usually pick out if a mix sounds good or not. Even though when we talked about a couple episodes ago with Devin Townsend's new album where you're like, holy shit, this sounds amazing. You could say the exact opposite in regards to how the Ninth Hour sounds. You talk about the box that they're in. I think they recorded and produced this album in a frickin' box. It sounds awful. Like, this is a big band. For them, on a big label, whoever mastered or produced this album should be fucking fired for it. I mean, it's ridiculously bad. And I think it may be the first time I've said the F word on According to Metal. And it's because it's that bad. I mean, seriously, it's really... Biv, I challenge you to go back and listen to it and go, man, he's right. The mix sounds like shit. It really does. So that doesn't help. The vocals are bad. On top of that, nothing is memorable about this at all. And it's one of those bands that it reminds me, you remember when we did many episodes ago, we did Mystic Prophecy's most recent album. Was it War Brigade or some shit like that?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
And the thing I thought of when I was listening to this album was Mystic Prophecy. And they don't sound anything like what I'm saying here, but I'm getting there. Let me explain. You can listen to Mystic Prophecy one time, get through it and go, oh, well, there was that.